You're listening to Sox in the Basement, a production of the Broadcast Basement Limited, where every show is 30 minutes of good and comes from a basement bar on the south side of Chicago. Pull up a stool, pour a cold one, and join us right now for Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at soxinthebasement.com. So today I had to grade people. I've never done this before.
Well, welcome to being a teacher. Yes, you actually have to decide the fate of your students.
I'm an adjunct professor of podcasting at Moraine Valley Community College down in Palos. I believe it's in Palos. So I'm an adjunct, and I taught a class called Podcasting for a Living over the summer. And today I got an email like, "Hey, idiot!" They didn't call me an idiot, but hey, you didn't put in the grades. And I was like, I have to grade these people. So, yeah, it was pass-fail. Everybody passed except one guy.
You didn't really have to grade them then. You just had to flip a coin and decide whether you liked them or not, which is, I assume, what you did.
One guy did that summer vacation thing from that movie.
Where have you been?
He showed up for the first class. He showed up for the last class. And I was like, yeah, that's a fail. So, but everybody else passed. I mean, if they showed up for 60% of the classes, I passed them all. I mean, it's just a podcasting class, but it was fun, and a lot of people really enjoyed it, and they thought it should have been longer because there was just so much information, and several of these people are starting their own podcast. One person had a grant where they were developing an environmental podcast. Some people are doing video podcasting. Some are doing audio podcasting, but there were all ages, shapes, and sizes that were in the class, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. So Moraine Valley is offering it again for the fall semester. So if you want me to teach you podcasting, you can go to the Moraine Valley website. It's called Podcasting for a Living. The first class is the 7th of October. It runs through mid-November. It's a Tuesday night class. It's 2 hours a night. I think it's 6 classes. That's it. Although the students all thought it should have been 8. So it's chock full of information. If you want to do it, go to morainevalley.edu. All right? Anyway, this episode of Sox in the Basement is brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park, 33rd and Princeton, award-winning burgers, ballpark favorites, amazing wines and spirits, and rotating taps of craft beer, indoor-outdoor seating, just a fun place pregame, definitely postgame. It's a party in-game if you want to watch the game from the bar stool instead of the ballpark, although is exciting inside the ballpark right now the way that Colson Montgomery is hitting, my friend. And he's got a torpedo bat, which I'm digging. I'm digging that a guy's using it. Although I told my dad the other day, I think that's all psychological. I don't know if it really changes anything.
Well, no. I mean, I think that it is psychological, but there's a lot of Colson Montgomery's game and emergence this year that has been psychological. And taking him down to Arizona was not physical. It wasn't that he needed to rehab an injury. It wasn't necessarily even that they needed to fully tweak his mechanics. They just needed to get his head screwed on straight. And there was talk when he first came up about him journaling.
He's journaling. I didn't hear that. He's journaling?
Oh, yeah, he was journaling, yeah. And when we were talking to James Fox about it, he said, well, once he gets on a hot streak, they'll bring him up, which is what they did. And that seemed to be based on not that he's found something mechanically, but more that he is seeing the ball, hitting it with authority, hitting it with confidence. And, going back to Yogi Berra, 90% of this game is half mental? So,
I mean, here's the thing. He feels like, his whole story feels like that you have to kind of massage him. Like I don't want to say ego-wise, but like he's fragile. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like he could be a fragile guy in terms of if he's got confidence, he's going to play at a high level. But that also means around the corner somewhere could be a big slump. And so they have to do a really good job of keeping him positive and happy and feeling like he can do things, right? So, I mean, think about this. Every level he went to, his stats went down. If you look at his baseball card from single A to double A to triple A, the stats went down. The more hype he got as the Corey Seager comp, the more problems he had trying to make it to the majors. He has a terrible year last year. He gets a little bit of confidence in the Arizona Fall League. He comes back, he plays poorly. What do? They send him down for like individual tutoring is the best way to kind of describe this, right? Like all the way down to where you're just at like one of their complexes getting worked on one-on-one. They get a little bit of success, and when did they bring him up? We talked about it. On the road against the Rockies. The worst team in baseball and the best place to hit. And remember what we said on this show? This is just, if he can just catch lightning in a bottle and have confidence, that's all they're looking for. So he gets that series. He gets to kind of coast into the All-Star break feeling good. He gets to go home and friends and family are like, you're a major leaguer, you're feeling great. He shows up feeling like he's got it now. 7 home runs since the All-Star break. He's second in Major League Baseball behind Kyle Schwarber. I mean, it feels like it's all mental with him. He's swinging a torpedo bat, in which some people have said, okay, fine, that makes the fattest part more towards the center instead of the end of the bat. But a lot of the research makes it seem like some of that's psychological. So, I mean, some of that is not, I don't, everybody would be using one if it automatically made you a better baseball player. It seems to be that's the thing with him. And Fox and also Elijah Evans from Future Sox have said, this is like the high end for him. This is his heater right now. He probably is a little bit lesser than this overall over 162 games, but definitely could be a starter in Major League Baseball. So, and I think that's because you could see the exact opposite of this if he has a bad 3-4 days or gets down on himself. I mean, maybe I'm nuts. I'm not a psychiatrist and I've never met him face to face. It just seems like the way they've treated him, it's a mental thing, not a skill thing with him.
Well, yeah, and I don't think the skills were ever in doubt, even when he was struggling. It really does seem to be something about what's going on between his ears. And he's going to slump. There's no doubt about it. He's going to slump. He's going to have a lot of situations where pitchers are going to get the best of him. I mean, the things that have impressed me so far, other than the home runs, which the White Sox desperately needed a guy who, when you come up every single time, you wonder if you could put one in the seats. And you didn't really have that because Luis Robert Jr., you kind of wondered if he wasn't going to make contact at the last couple of years. But that kind of feeling, and that's where Robert was a couple of years ago, right? When he was an all-star. You haven't had that with the White Sox, so I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed the fact that he's hitting them off of left-handers, which is a good thing too, and I think that's a good thing overall for his confidence. But is he going to be fragile? And when he slumps, is he going to slump and fall way off and start tinkering and be one of these guys that never quite figures it out again? Or is this enough for him to sit there and say, not only am I a major leaguer, but I can show you and prove to you that I'm a good major leaguer? Because every one of them is going to have a slump. I mean, Corey Seager has had slumps. Corey Seager's had injury problems too. And he's not a perfect player. But if that's the comp, when Corey Seager is on, he absolutely carried the Dodgers. He absolutely carries the Rangers, right? And that's what you're looking for out of Colson Montgomery. When he's not on, is he still contributing? And when he is on, okay, then you're going to win ball games based on him alone. If that's what we get out of him, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and that is a great thing for the White Sox to have, because the only other guy you really had that with was Luis Robert Jr. But I really do think, and we've talked about Luis Robert Jr.'s being mental as well. I mean, really the only guy that we've talked about where you and I have gone after the player and said, we don't think this guy has it, or we don't know what's going on with this guy. I would submit that when we used to talk about Yohan Moncada that way, we used to talk about it as, does he really care? Is he trying really hard? The skill is there, but is he into the game? With Luis Robert Jr., we've talked about the idea that he may not be into to playing on a bad team, and he may want to play on a better team. Andrew Vaughn, who is on one of his heaters with the Brewers now, and the only thing that they can point to is that his swing's just a hair shorter and a hair faster than it was when he was with the White Sox.
I'm so happy you're calling it a heater, though, because I predicted this was going to happen at some point. Oh, yeah. I just thought it would happen with the White Sox, and it would convince the front office to stick with him. He does this every year. He gets about a 3-week stretch or 4-week stretch where he looks like a god, and he goes back to being what he is, and ends up being replacement level or less when his final yearly stats come out. I am not buying it yet. I'm not.
No, and it's all between his ears, right? Because what changes when he's hot, when we've seen Vaughn hot, and when he's hot now for the Brewers? What's going to change between now and the end of the year with the pedestrian stats? Are you going to tell me that his hands got tired and he really couldn't swing the bat as hard? No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. He couldn't adapt, and then it got into his head, and he went downhill. And if Colson Montgomery is that, where he gets hot, but then something starts to go wrong, or the balls just don't fall, or they're not making, he's hitting them to the track instead of over the wall, like every baseball player goes through, if he collapses like that, okay, if he collapses like a souffle, then it's Andrew Vaughn all over again.
Yeah, but I'm hoping it's not it. I'm not trying to be negative here.
No.
I'm actually just trying to point out. I'm trying to point out that it seems like it's a mental thing for him. So that's the thing the White Sox have to be careful of, and that's something he needs to work on. Look, I have a cousin of mine. I'm not going to give out what organization she works with, but she's a sports psychologist or therapist. I don't want to say the wrong title, but she basically sits around and talks with the players all day long. She's like an Division III softball player who went into this field, and this is what she does. She sits down and she has conversations with the ball players. Like, you see people sometimes on the TV broadcast, you're like, who's that? I don't even know who that person is. They have these people now walking around in the dugout. They have them in the clubhouses. They have them just hanging out and talking with them behind the scenes.
Coach.
Right, they're constantly trying to talk to them about like staying mentally sharp, but also not getting down on themselves. It's almost like the encouragement is needed for some of the personalities. This is not something that existed 20 years ago. This is something that exists now in Major League Baseball. This is what her profession is, and she does it for a Major League Baseball team. So hopefully the White Sox have people like that too. And Colson Montgomery needs one that sits right next to him, like constantly, because I think that's what made a difference with him. Speaking of help, switch to a new age of life with help from Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Lift chairs. They have a great value. They give enhanced safety, independence, and ease, comfort and support. Plus, they come with customization and style. You can get a lift chair that fits your home decor, and it improves your quality of life by making sitting and standing easier and safer. Lift chairs help you maintain an active lifestyle and enjoy daily activities with greater ease and confidence, and reduce the risk of injury from falls, contributing to your overall well-being. Well, Hyatt Home Medical Equipment has expert guidance and top quality brands. They're going to give you demonstrations and let you do a test run, professional installation and support, and commitment to your satisfaction. See what they have available for you today at hhme.com, or stop in and see them at 3518 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park. Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. I want to read this message we got. We get messages all the time here on Sox in the Basement, and I love them. And if I read them all, half the show would be messages. And so I try to avoid it.
But then the messages would stop because we'd stop talking and people would have things to say about us.
That's exactly what would happen. Okay.
It's a vicious cycle, folks.
But every once in a while I get one that makes me laugh. And that's the thing. All right. So we have Joe Santoro sends in this one to me through Sox in the Basement. And he's talking about last episode. Chris, your comment about John Schriffen and how each time he opens his mouth, it makes your eyes roll back in your head was perfect. I laughed for 5 minutes straight. I couldn't agree more. I literally can't listen to the guy. I listen to the radio broadcast while I watch the games on TV, which is saying a lot because Darren Jackson is an idiot and Len Kasper is just another kiss-ass talking head. But they're both harmless compared to Schriffen. I can tune them out. They're just white noise. Schriffen makes me want to punch a hole in my TV. It's like Reinsdorf only hired him as a way to give the finger to Sox fans on a nightly basis. And I wrote back to Joe, your hole in the TV part made me laugh for 5 minutes. Thanks. I love the interaction with the fans when we do this kind of thing. I mean, it's true. It's true.
It is.
I mean, I have stayed away from him all year long. And I want to say, like, some people have reached out, like, why all of a sudden are you on him again? And remember, last year, I was the one saying leave him alone. I was one who was like, oh, he screwed up Bill Veck's name, but he's not from here, and maybe his producer should have given him the heads up. I thought the radio stations were piling on him. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt when he first got here. So you can't say that I was one of the original detractors.
No, I think you and I were very in defense of John Schriffen.
Right. I'm not anymore. He's the worst broadcaster I've ever laid ears on. I can listen to the team in Crestwood at Ozinga Field, whoever they bring out every year, who's just trying out how to do it, right? I can listen to a AAA, a AA, a single A. I can listen to a guy doing a high school baseball game over the PA system, and they're all better than this guy. This guy gets paid by the platitude and says things like Miguel Vargas is a superstar. And now all of a sudden we're this team that's on, we're going to beat everybody. He's mocking the Cubs. We lost 2 out of 3. There are times where you feel like Steve Stone is still trying to teach him basic rules of the game because he doesn't understand it. It's brutal. And I think I just kind of stayed away from it the first half of the year because there were just too many things to talk about. But I'm telling you, the Cubs series like lit a fire under me. And now I notice everything. Every time I watch a game, it hurts. I watch it. And basically, Ed, what happens is I watch the game. I get to about the third inning or so, and I yell something like, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard," and then I mute the television. This is my way I watch White Sox games now. Stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't make it past the fourth inning, honestly. I can't without muting the TV. And the kids laugh. They're like, we're not listening to sound anymore. I'm like, I can't listen to sound anymore. He's killing me. He's absolutely killing me. I mean, look, we're rebuilding. I get that. We're building a team. But someone in there has to understand that when the team finally gets good, you need to replace him. He's perfect for trying to do the better at the ballpark thing, right? Where he's like, just come out to the ballpark and just come out and do a tailgate. And, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. And the thing that he has said now multiple times over the last couple of weeks, the real fans are here. That can't be here when you start playing well. It's a detriment to your attendance and your fan base. Somebody has to know that, right, Ed? Like, somebody knows he's perfect for right now. Like how Daniel Polka was perfect for when the team was going nowhere. He was a superstar. But on a real team that was trying to win and go to the playoffs, he's in the Korean Baseball League. Like, that's what this is from a broadcasting side, right?
Well, and this is an unnecessary swipe at Ricky Renteria, but you're describing the Ricky Renteria of broadcasters.
That's what he is. He's the Ricky Renteria broadcaster. So though I felt bad for Ricky Renteria and I felt like his heart was in the right place. And this guy picks fights with his fans. He picks fights with the fans and talks about the real fans being there and the people who really stick with the team. But I get what you're saying there. He's the Ricky Renteria of broadcasters. He's the Daniel Polka of broadcasters. He's there for when the team is not good. Somebody needs to understand, though, at some point, a replacement, like part of your rebuild has to be Connor McKnight eventually steps in there. He's good. Like, Connor McKnight is good.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being Connor McKnight and having to listen to that guy every night knowing you're better than him? And that when you go in there and you do a play-by-play, everybody walks up to you. I guarantee you, everybody walks up to you and says, you should be the guy doing this. Everybody, I guarantee they do. Steve Stone probably tells them that.
I will say Connor McKnight is an intelligent man because clearly he bangs the back of his head against the wall instead of the front so that he's TV ready. Okay. He is not a guy that, but I disagree with you that at some point when they get good, John, no, it's detrimental to your team right now because it's not that the real fans are at the ballpark. It's incredibly tone deaf because all across major leagues, not just Major League Baseball, but all across the major leagues, it is a lot harder for people to go out to the ballpark. I don't care if it's better at the ballpark. It's way more expensive at the ballpark, okay? And you've already done this thing where you've put the team's games behind paywalls. It is expensive to get to the ballpark. The promotions are less than thrilling than they have been in years past in terms of their availability because it's not just the first, hey, get to the ballpark. Sometimes you got to have extra tickets for it, things like that. They make it really difficult to be a fan as it is. And then they hire this mouthpiece who somehow makes the normally entertaining and intelligent Dan Plesac sound like an idiot. and he's sitting here, he's mocking people who are watching him. We're watching you, dude. We're paying for you. I hate to tell you, but John, buddy, listen to me. If you tell people who are watching you on TV that they aren't real fans, you're not going to have a job because nobody's going to be watching you behind that $20 a month paywall BS.
And you know what? He makes everybody else look worse. Because that thing I read from Joe, the listener who sent it in, picks on Len Casper. Well, Len Casper's a professional broadcaster. I like Len Casper.
I do too. I actually like Len a lot.
I read the whole thing because I wanted to make this point. I like Len Casper. Darren Jackson, I've met him before. I have pictures with him. When him and Fermio came to come see me when we were a brand new podcast and they stopped by to say hi, right? I mean, Look, he had a hard time when he first got started, which every sports guy has. Anybody who's a player.
Darren Jackson was also keeping up with Ed Farmer, which has got to be.
Has to be hard.
Farmio's a legend. That had to be. That's a tough assignment.
But let me. I've said this before. Ex players are generally not as good as broadcasters because broadcasters go to school for it, and just like a player goes to single A, double A, triple A, and works their way up and hones their craft, broadcasters do that. Professional broadcasters like John Rooney or Jason Benetti or Len Casper. That's what these guys do. They've worked their way up, so they're polished and they're good. Farmer, it took a long time for Farmer to be somebody who could even do play-by-play. When Rooney left, he had such a hard time with it, and he was never going to be John Rooney, all right? God rest his soul, he never was going to be John Rooney. Darren Jackson gets put in there, and for a while, you got Jackson who is learning how to do it from a guy who's still learning how to do it himself. But he's been there long enough, so they like him.
Don't forget, DJ is dealing with Hawk when he comes in as well.
Oh, my gosh. Which is another ex-player.
Wow.
Another ex-player that if he wasn't your guy, the other 29 fan bases found him to be annoying because he wasn't a professional broadcaster. The crazy thing about Schriffen is he's supposedly a professional broadcaster. Like, this isn't an ex-player. This is a guy trying to learn the game. So I don't know what he brings. Like, that's what drives me nuts about him. You know? Like, I excuse the players that are trying to do it because they've never done it before. And this is not something that anybody can sit in front of. I talked about the podcasting class at the beginning. I'm not perfect, Ed. I'm not the greatest broadcaster that ever lived. I make mistakes all the time. I tripped over myself a couple times in this episode.
Why do you sign all my birthday cards that way?
I do, because I'm better than you. But
well, yeah, we know this.
But here's the thing. I told my podcasting class, here are all these people and they all want to do this and they're all very excited. And I think that one guy, that's why I didn't come back, because it probably hurt a little bit when I sat there and said, I can teach you everything that I want to teach you about this. I can show you how the equipment works. I can show you how to talk into a microphone. I can talk about, like, in an interview, like how to, like, if you're dealing with a political candidate or something like that, how to make them comfortable so you can get something candid out of them and how to make it into a conversation. All those different things. I can talk about all of it. But 5 days a week for nearly 10 years, for 5 hours a day, doing morning talk radio is why I'm able to do it even at the level that I'm at. And like I said, I'm not even that great at it. It takes a long time, right? It takes a long time to do that. When ex-athletes try, it takes them a long time. So I give a guy like Darren Jackson a little bit of a break because he's gotten a lot better than when he first started, right? Ed Farmer, it took him a long time. I mean, still, I used to get frustrated. Again, love Ed. But I mean, sometimes, like, John Rooney's call at the end of 2005 what was it? Ground ball up the middle, over the head of Jenks. Uribe has it, throws, out. The White Sox win the World Series and a World Championship. The White Sox are mobbing each other on the field. It's about that. I'm paraphrasing. I'm very close, I think, if I remember his call.
You are very close,
okay.
Yeah.
Joe Buck, who was a professional broadcaster, had pictures, so his was a little bit more simple. Ed Farmer on the radio would have been ground ball, Uribe, pin a star on it. You would have had no idea what happened. Because he wasn't there yet. It would have, people would have found it iconic because it was our guy and we won the World Series, but it would have sounded differently because that's where his level was. And so I try to give guys like Darren Jackson a little bit more of a break. John Schriffen, I can't give a break to because John Schriffen is supposedly a trained broadcaster. And instead of just being a trained broadcaster and doing the things he was trained to do, supposedly, when there are so many other ones that are out there that are more skilled than him, again, Connor McKnight should be doing this instead of him. That's what bothers me. What bothers me is that he's still spending time talking about the real fans being there. He's still taking swipes when nobody's swiping at him. I didn't start talking about him this year. I've spent the whole season not saying a word about him till I started hearing that garbage on TV. And now he upsets my sensibilities because somebody has to speak up for the fan base. Even if it's exhausting to continuously say, this guy sucks, I'll say it. He sucks. Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money. Give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement. No matter what stage you are at, it costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's more so than just being a trained broadcaster, but one of the things that gets honed over the years is personality and understanding who your audience is. Okay. And John Schriffen has a good voice. He's got great energy. His diction is wonderful.
He shouts too much, and I'm a shouter. When I get excited, I yell, but I don't yell like that. I don't go, ah!
No.
There's some control.
No, and shouting can be okay in a baseball sense, but you can overuse it. But more to the point here is understanding who White Sox fans are, and clearly he does not. Okay, understanding what White Sox baseball is, clearly he does not. He is taking his cues from somebody in the front office, and this is the most tone-deaf front office and ownership group in baseball.
He's paid by the platitude, and he's paid to do exactly what they tell him to do. He's paid to do exactly what they tell him to do.
His strength, I bet you I would find John Schriffen to be a wonderful broadcaster on National Football League games, NFL games, where he is not involved in the fan base, where he is not a voice of the team, but he is a guy that is just there to punctuate the excitement that I'm watching on TV. Okay? That's probably his strength. The reason why we loved Hawk as much as Sox fans loved him, even though he drove everybody up a wall for the most part and disappeared for innings at a time when an umpire blew us, at 0-2 count.
Or ran down to go check on Todd Frazier.
Or that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to check on your Todd fathers wherever they are. But we loved Hawk because Hawk did understand who he was talking to.
Listen,
okay?
We loved Hawk. We loved Hawk because he's ridiculous. Hawk was ridiculous, but he never put down his fan base. No. He was ridiculous, but he never put down his fan base. That's the difference.
No,
he never sat there and said, well, I have friends in Lot B, so it's okay for me to make fun of all the other people who don't show up to ball games. And that right now that's cute. And that's nothing against the people that go and hang out in Lot B. They're all wonderful White Sox fans. Good for you. You go all the time. I'm not talking about you guys. I swear I'm not. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a bigger fan base than what's showing up right now. The vast majority of White Sox fans are not going to a lot of games, if any, right now. The vast majority of White Sox fans, if they are paying attention, though, are becoming really annoyed by this. And they don't forget. Okay? How many White Sox fans have you met that sit there and say, hey, remember before 05? Oh my God, remember before 05? The amount of guys that would bring up this thing happened back in 1972 and I haven't been back to the ballpark since. I remember when Jerry Reinsdorf did this in 1984 and I'm never going back to the ballpark. When he tried to move the team in the late 80s, I said I'd never go back again. The first time they walked back in was during the playoffs. And some of them still stayed away because they hold on to that stuff forever. All right? You're creating it again. And what's funny is it's the same people in the building who created it the first time, and the only reason it got erased for the most part is because you won a World Series. And even then, you didn't have an announcer that said things like, the real fans are here. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, that's the thing. If everybody's like, why are you so fired up about this guy? That's insulting. It's insulting. All right?
Very insulting.
You just learned who the White Sox were a year ago. You're still learning the names of people like Bill Veeck. You're still learning the rules of the game. And if we sat down across a table, John Schriffen, and I gave you a week to prepare, I could beat you in a White Sox trivia contest hands down.
There are Cubs fans who could beat him.
Right. I could sit there and tell you more about this team than you could ever learn. And most White Sox fans could do that. Let's sit down and do a couple of things too. Let's have you try to describe what a fielder's choice is, because I'm guaranteeing you're going to screw it up. That's how it feels, right? If you got into a baseball discussion with him,
to that level,
right? If you got into a baseball discussion with him, do you feel like he could beat you with his knowledge? So just do the play-by-play and stop with the acting like you're better than everybody, because it's clear that you're not. If you just did the play-by-play and talked about the promotions that were being handed out, right? Just do the play-by-play and talk about the promotions, okay? Every once in a while when you need an expert, Steve Stone is sitting next to you. He was waxing poetic about Dick Allen, and it was clear he didn't know anything about Dick Allen except for the notes that were given to him, and Steve Stone actually interrupted with, well, why don't I talk about Dick Allen? Because I played with him.
I knew him. God rest him.
You do the play-by-play. Be quiet.
Let the color guys be the color guys and be the personality. Let us have Steve Stone's remaining years with just somebody there to set him up so that we can soak in his knowledge. Or if it's Dan Plesac, or if it's AJ Przinsky, or Gordon Beckham, or Mike Huff, or whoever they drag out from as an ex-player, I would absolutely take it from a White Sox fan standpoint of just having a guy who's forgettable, in the words of our fans there. A guy that's forgettable, the guy that we don't even really pay much attention to, if it means that what I can do is watch the game, use my knowledge of the game, soak it in, and not be told what kind of a fan I am because circumstances have kept me from coming to every single game this year or more games than not.
Listen, think about my lifetime and White Sox announcers and all of those that have done play-by-play on radio and on television. He's last. I mean, we're talking about, let's just go back.
Easily.
We got Benetti, we got Hawk, we even got Harry Carey in there somewhere. We got John Rooney on the radio.
Carey was...
we got Len Casper and John Rooney on the radio. Think of all the different people that we've had. I mean, that's the joke of the whole thing. It's not like this isn't sour grapes. This isn't like I got a bone to pick with him. I'm annoyed that he says that. I guess that's the bone I have to pick. I'm annoyed that he said the real fans are here. I'm annoyed by that. That annoys me. It annoys me as a White Sox fan. Whether I had a podcast or not, it annoys me. If I'm upset about it, there's a lot of White Sox fans that are tired of listening to it. And people used to talk about it. People used to talk about it on the radio, but he says it so much now that it's become white noise. It's just like he's the idiot yelling in the back of the room. And right. I just have noticed him again. And I'm like, wait a minute, this idiot's still yelling. What are we going to do about this?
Well, and how can you yell? Again, I will say it again because of the way we have to pay for White Sox games. We have to pay to watch them. So the real fans are paying for the games. We're just paying for them from our living room, not from the ballpark. And that's real fandom too, because when I'm sitting in my living room or whatever room in the house I'm sitting in, I don't have just White Sox games to watch and John Schriffen to listen to. I've got everything at my fingertips. If I want to go back and watch old reruns of a show that I haven't seen in 45 years, I can go ahead and do that, and I don't have to listen to you, and I can just turn on Gamecast and watch the box score happen. So guess what, John? The real fans are everywhere except in the booth right now.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.